Hi there, Skitty Vinstati, CEO of OneWire, and welcome to Open Door. Today we're going to go interview my good friend Ted Virtue, who is the founder of MidOcean Partners, a private equity firm that focuses on the middle market area. You're going to know a ton of the companies that they've invested in. Ted's been an incredibly successful guy throughout his career. You're going to hear his story. I think you're going to really enjoy the show. Well, let's go see what he's up to. I'm here today with my good friend Ted Virtue, who's the CEO and founder of MidOcean, which is a private equity firm. And Ted, you guys manage about $3 billion, right?
That's right, Skitty. Good to be here with you.
Okay, well, thanks so much for having me over. Before we begin, I have to look at this picture over here in the corner with all the presidents doing the opening pitch.
You know, I'm a big supporter of athletics, and to see all of our esteemed leaders throughout the years, in athletic positions, I thought it was a cool picture to look at.
Well, I'd love to talk to you a little bit about MidOcean and what you guys are up to here. We have a lot of young viewers that come to OneWire, and if you could just start out by talking about your experience at college and how you decided to get into finance, that'd be great.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, I matriculated to Middlebury College in Vermont, where I was going to be a pre-med major, and I think my mother still believes I'm going to be a pre-med major. So don't show this to her, please. So I played football and basketball in college, so I had a pretty busy schedule, and it got to be overwhelming with pre-med and biochem and everything else. So I started taking more economics classes and ended up majoring in economics. So I took 3 interviews at college and got jobs at a bank, which I remember answering my first question, why a bank? The guy asked why a bank, and I was so unprepared. I said, because I love big vaults and those kind of things. Really a terrible answer. And the second one was with an insurance company to be an actuary. I had a lot of math classes, and so they looked at that. And the third was working at Avis, which I remember asking would I mind working Christmas Day if I was in Dayton, Ohio? And of course I said yes, I wouldn't mind at all. I'd do whatever it takes. And so I got a job at all 3 of those places, and ended up choosing to go into finance, haphazardly.
And after Bankers Trust, what was your next move?
So I started Drexel, and we started this little business that was selling high-yield commercial paper. It was a brand new product in a growing firm, and little I started filing papers. And about a month into my job, which I was really enjoying, the guy who hired me, and there was a small little group, came in and said, "I'm leaving." And the other guy, about 2 months after that, also said he's leaving. And they said, "Good luck. It's a great product. I think you can really do well here, but we found something else to do with our lives." So I'm 23 years old, and I'm running it's a big trading operation. It was doing. We were underwriting a brand new product for a non-investment grade company selling their commercial paper, which was a brand new marketplace. Mm-hmm. And and we're running about a $5 billion book of business. Trying to do this for companies like Chrysler Financial and Warner Communications and some really interesting companies that have fallen on hard times. And I said, "Oh my God, what do I do? I got to get some people here to do this." Uh-huh. And so I looked. I was 23 and I looked 15 at most. So I literally went out to people that would actually believe in me to do it, because no one who had been experienced in the business, even though it was a great opportunity, would come in and work with me or for me. Mm-hmm. So I hired my college roommate, and then I hired my next door neighbor. And I started bringing young guys who said, I get it. And
now that's a way to build a firm. I like that.
Yeah. So and that was the only people who would work for me and come work at that time for a firm that no one really had heard of. Yeah. Even though it had become by the mid '80s a real dominant player in the M&A and finance businesses. And we built this into a really very profitable business. And a lot of fun, because we did it with an incredibly young and experienced team, and we didn't know what we didn't know. So it was an incredible experience for us to be learning on the run.
So after Drexel, what was your next move?
So I started interviewing back in New York, where we can leverage the skill set, which was pretty unique at Drexel, into someone else's platform. And as it turns out, with the platform that I thought was the most natural fit for me was going back to Bankers Trust. It was a much different place in 1990 than it was in 1982 when I started at Bankers Trust. Mm-hmm. And they offered me a job to help build out their investment bank. So I was just, it was a great place to be, and I had great mentorship again with Charlie Sanford, who ran Bankers Trust and was a real pioneer and innovator in his own right.
After that, you went to Deutsche Bank for a little bit, and then you ended up you got into the private equity business at Deutsche Bank.
Yep, stumbled into it again. Deutsche Bank had bought us, and it was becoming a much more crowded field, in terms of the investment bank, and so I had an opportunity to do something much more entrepreneurial, which was run their merchant bank. And then, they ran into capital problems. We were funding it all off balance sheet, and an opportunity for us to buy out our business from the bank. It came about in 2002 as the capital regs changed for banks, which has happened, a number of times since. Mm-hmm. And, myself and a bunch of our partners had a chance to create our own firm, which we did. And it was a very difficult time in 2002. We raised, $1.8 billion to buy out our portfolio from the bank and to buy out our firm.
Okay.
And it's been a great, it was a good deal for Deutsche Bank at the time, for them to kind of unload this capital, and for us, it really gave us a much more entrepreneurial environment which to grow out our business.
Got you. And what do you guys focus on?
So we do mid-market buyouts.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly mid-market, kind of sub $500 million enterprise value businesses. So mm-hmm. We've owned businesses like Jenny Craig, and we owned a business called Prestige Brands, which had a lot of broad-based consumer products. We owned Totes umbrellas and Bushnell binoculars and Hunter ceiling fans. So some of those the great niche businesses, dominant players in their spaces that we're bringing really world-class management teams to those businesses to grow their platforms.
Got you. If you were sitting there and you were interviewing people to come work at your firm today, be it at the associate level or the vice president level, what is it that you look for? What is it that separates people apart so that Ted Virtue says, I got to have that person here on my team?
I love dealing with people who have had some challenges, and they've been able to drive through them and had success, whether it be in academics, whether it be in athletics, whether it be some summer job or in their careers. I look a lot for that.
Got you. What have been some of the challenges that you've overcome?
It's interesting. I don't consider myself a particularly risk-taking person, mm-hmm. And yet if you look at my career, you'd say, boy, that guy took a lot of risk in what he's done. I try and push myself to change all the time. I change offices and my desk, and just to make sure I'm in a new environment and always thinking about how I can do things differently, mm-hmm. And how I can make sure we don't get stuck in a rut. Because the one thing that's clear in this business, and I learned very early on, is if you're not adapting and changing, you're dying.
Right.
And so it's either grow or die. And so it's kind of always thinking about growing, because the day you become complacent, as we've seen in our industry and virtually every industry I've financed, you start to deteriorate and erode.
Got you. Ted Virtue, CEO of MidOcean Partners. Can't thank you enough for having me over today.
Thanks, Kitty. Appreciate it.